Good afternoon, everybody. I want to call to order this previous meeting for February 12th. And before we get started, I'd like to ask us to just maybe take a moment to pay respect and show our support and our love for the families and the residents of Tumbler Ridge. So if we can just take a moment before we get going. Thanks, everyone. All right, I'd like to recognize that this meeting is being held on the traditional and the unceded territories of the Leeward Nation. Any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, as presented, Director Mack, second by Director Kennett. Opposed, motion carries. We don't have it closed, so we will go right into our delegations. We have a number of them. We're going to start with Mr. McKenzie from Pemberton Search and Rescue. Afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to present on behalf of Pemberton District Search and Rescue. I want to begin by acknowledging the continued support of this committee. Your funding is foundational to our ability to operate safely and effectively. Pemberton SAR remains a 100% volunteer-run emergency response organization. We operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, responding in some of the most challenging terrain in the province. We currently have 42 active members. These members commit to biweekly training, specialized certifications, equipment inspections, fleet maintenance, base operations, governance, and committee work. And they do all of this as volunteers. There is not a single paid person in our organization. The strength of our response comes from the depth of preparation behind it. Call-out numbers fluctuate year to year, but what has not fluctuated, and in fact continues to increase, is the complexity of rescues. Approximately 75% of our incidents now involve injured subjects requiring technical extraction. We're seeing more unprepared backcountry users, increased reliance on helicopter support of rescues, more technically demanding rope and mountain environments, and continued mutual aid responses across the corridor. Even in years where call volumes dip slightly due to weather or wildfire seasons, readiness requirements do not decrease. The baseline cost of being ready continues to rise. One exciting development this past year is the launch of our dedicated drone team. We now have trained operators equipped with advanced drone technology which significantly enhances our search and rescue capabilities. Drones allow us to cover terrain quickly and safely, search avalanche paths and hazard areas without exposing our members to unnecessary risk. It improves subject location speed, support night operations with thermal imaging, and provide aerial situational awareness to our incident command. This capacity increases efficiency, reduces operational risk, and can shorten search durations, which ultimately improve outcomes for the subjects. It's a strong advancement for our team, and we're very proud of it, but it also adds to our operational framework. One ongoing limitation remains helicopter external transport system capability, or HETS as we call it. We have an active application currently with EMCR for this increased capability, and we're hoping to know by the end of the month if it is approved. We have earmarked funds for the additional training and equipment, but it's important to know that we already have 9 members trained in this discipline. I'd like to personally thank Director Mack and Mayor Rickman for providing letters of support for our application. Pemberton SAR is funded through 4 primary streams: the local requisition from this committee, provincial task reimbursements, capital grants, fundraising, and donations. It's important to distinguish that our provincial reimbursement and grants are largely tied to specific tasks or capital purchases. Operational stability, the ability to keep vehicles insured, fuel in the tanks, gear maintained, and volunteers properly equipped depends on local requisition funding. This is where this committee's support is critical. In 2025, your funding directly supported fleet lifecycle maintenance, rope and swiftwater gear replacement, personal protective equipment upgrades, base maintenance and infrastructure improvements, advanced training and certifications, and the integration and operational readiness of our new drone capability. We operate with disciplined financial oversight. Every dollar is committee reviewed, life cycle planned, and strategically allocated. Like every organization, we're facing increasing costs: fuel, insurance, fleet maintenance, technical equipment replacement, certification and recertification expenses, technology maintenance, and compliance. Volunteer organizations are not insulated from inflation. In fact, our technical rescue gear and aviation adjacent equipment like drones have strict life cycle and compliance standards. Safety equipment cannot be stretched for another year. To maintain current service levels and safety standards, we're respectfully requesting an increase to our annual requisition funding. This increase is not about expansion, it's about sustainability. The primary areas of investment include core operational stability, our fleet, fuel, insurance, maintenance, technical rescue equipment and life cycle replacement, advanced training and recertifications, ongoing team training and operational support. This ensures volunteer safety, reliable response, regional resilience, and modernized search capability. Search and rescue is a critical emergency service for both residents and visitors alike. When someone is injured in the backcountry, we're often the only rapid response capability. Your support does not fund an abstract organization. It strengthens emergency preparedness for this entire region. Pemberton SAR continues to evolve with the demands of our region. We are proud of our volunteers, we are disciplined in our funding, and we are committed to maintaining a high standard of service. On behalf of our 42 members, thank you for your continued partnership and your consideration of our 2026 funding request. I welcome your questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee?
No, I just want to say thanks for the work you guys do as usual, and yeah, carry on.
Thank you. Yep, we did get a positive response so far to our HEPS request. It is we found it is in the fourth and final stage. So it actually has.
So you think you'll hear by the end of the month?
They are meeting on the 18th. They've committed to getting back to us within 2 weeks of that meeting. So we're very, very hopeful. That'll be a game changer for our organization and the corridor.
Can you maybe, for those that don't know, just give us a quick summary of what HETS is?
Yeah, so there's two terms. HETS, helicopter external transport system. Anything that's attached to a helicopter has to go through Transport Canada. So there's a lot of moving parts, literally. And we are already part of what's considered a regional team. Whistler is the headquarters of our regional team. So that's why we already have 9 members already trained. We also have 2 of our members that are trained in an industrial setting for their job. So if we get approval, we may even have up to 10 or 12 people already with that capability. Because right now, as a part of the regional team, we don't have our own equipment. It is housed with Whistler SAR. So when we get a call, we have to put out mutual aid, and the clock is ticking, because we know historically a lot of our calls come late in the afternoon, the mountain biker out somewhere up to Hurley. And then time is of the essence, because darkness, we cannot do a helicopter operation after dark. So there is a time delay, and that's the argument that we've been making with EMCR in our application. We have the capability. We are prepared to allocate part of our funds to the kit. The kit is very expensive, and it's one of those things that times out because it's attached to a helicopter. But we're quite. This is the closest we've ever been in this application since I think 2017. So it's been an endurance test.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we appreciate the support. Go ahead.
How much is the kit, Dave?
$50,000.
Okay.
And the training is about an additional $25,000. And that is initially that $25,000 would give us another 8 trained members. And then everyone has to do an annual recurrency. So our most expensive part of that, of course, as you can imagine, is the helicopter time, because we do dry land training, but we actually have to do the real cycles of a helicopter extraction on a long line. So, yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions from the committee? Rams, and you're all right. Thanks for being here, and Pemberton Search and Rescue has been known for many years to operate at a high level, so pass on our appreciation to the members, please.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, next up, we have Ms. Gillis from the Pemberton District Public Library.
Just here.
Good
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emma Gillis. I'm the Library Director at the Pemberton District Public Library. Thank you again for inviting me here today to discuss the 2026 budget and also give me the opportunity to share some of the successes the library has had in 2025 that will continue to demonstrate the integral role that we play in the health and wellness of our growing community. Next. 2025 saw the final year of our current strategic plan, but we continue to be guided by our mission to be a place to connect and inspire through ideas, programs, resources, and technologies, and our vision to be the hub of our dynamic communities. We operate under 4 strategic priority areas: to inspire minds through learning and literacy, to create welcoming spaces, to build community and connections, and to live our values. Next slide. So 2025 was a year of steady growth and capacity building for the library. We saw a 2% increase in visits to the library for a total of 60,476 visits, or the equivalent of every resident visiting the library 8.5 times. We saw a 31% increase in items borrowed from the library, with 74,644 items borrowed, or the equivalent to 12.7 books per resident. This demonstrates while we are often saying that we are more than books, books remain something important to our community. Demand for access to digital materials also continues to grow, with a 14% increase in items borrowed. Contrary to popular belief, digital items cost libraries significantly more than their physical counterparts, hard copy counterparts do, or what a private resident purchasing an item would cost. So we've been exploring various approaches to continue to meet demand without overburdening the collection budget, but this continues to remain a challenge. We fully restored 7-day operations in 2026 and increased opening hours by 4%, representing our highest number of service delivery hours on record, all with a team of just 7 people. We gained some momentum with program delivery in 2025, but progress was hampered after our recently hired program coordinator had to relocate. That being said, we still delivered 265 free programs to 2,927 attendees. We saw a 12% increase in children participating in our summer reading club program and conducted 16 outreach visits, reaching 616 residents. Also highlighted on the slide are some of the many community organizations we partnered with to deliver these free programs to our community. And there's also a great shot of the mischievous stuffies at our stuffy sleepover. We made a number of service enhancements in 2025 to improve patron experience and access. Auto renewals is a new feature we enabled, allowing patrons' items to automatically renew on their due date up to 2 times, provided nobody is waiting. This has reduced both patron and staff administrative efforts and is a huge benefit to patrons who live further afield or have limited phone or internet connection. Home delivery is now also available to homebound individuals within a 20-minute drive from the library. Aimed primarily at seniors, for now, it also includes the option of staff-curated reading selections. After a long hiatus due to staff capacity, we resumed our Tech Help program, which offers one-on-one support with basic technology needs. We continue to foster a strong working relationship with our neighbouring Sea to Sky libraries, and we enhanced the resource sharing between these libraries in 2025 with increased courier deliveries and shared over 9,000 items between the 3 libraries last year. Next slide. We continue to invest in our non-traditional collection called Library of Things. We added more than 30 items, including a food processor, vacuum sealer, rock tumbler, metal detector, ski tuning kit, fly tying kit, paper shredder, and much, much more. Some items like our sewing machines and dehydrators are so popular we've had to purchase more. While we continue to face significant challenges in storing these items when not in circulation, the 76% increase in borrowing highlights the value of the collection for the community. So for now, the staff will continue their daily game of things Tetris while we work on finding better solutions for our storage options. Our meeting pod also has proved to be very popular and has had over 470 bookings in 2025. Next slide. Enhancements to the space also took place in 2025 in an effort to improve accessibility. We conducted sound dampening in the children's library and office to minimize noise transfer. While not a panacea, it has definitely helped minimize some of the impact of noise coming out of the space. In response to growing demand in the lounge area, we extended the laptop bar and added additional seating. And we also added desktop charging ports in multiple areas to respond to the growing need for access to charging and power supply. We found beforehand people would find their seating wherever there was a power supply, and then everybody was all clustered around one area. So we've taken some steps to address that. We had a Spark built environment accessibility audit in 2025, and we'll be using the recommendations from that to inform future enhancements to the space in the coming years. As you're aware, we had a space needs assessment, and we will be reviewing the priorities and recommendations in that to determine our next steps in 2026. Our biggest win of the year was the accessible ramp completion with the heat tracing and now open access to our south deck and an external entrance. We've had really great feedback and it's been very well used. We also conducted some minor space upgrades to improve staff working conditions. This was identified in the space needs assessment. We've had to find some creative solutions to improve the cramped working conditions that the staff are working in right now. Next slide. So the library continues to deliver value for money. The pie chart on the left shows our primary areas of spending in 2025 from our complete operating budget. Staff continues to dominate at 62%, underscoring the people-powered, labor-intensive nature of our public library. Collections and facilities each represent about 1/8 of spending, which directly supports resident access. The remaining 14% funds technology, programs, and operations, all to keep services modern and community-focused. When we factor in local investment in the library, it translates to 1 free library card, saving residents over $207 a year. Next slide, please. In terms of our 2026 requisition, the 7% increase supports CPI increases to many of our core operating costs, including staffing, insurances, and technology. It also incorporates the additional room rental cost for after-school programming that was previously covered by grant funding. As we look to this year's goals, our priority areas are very much connected and interdependent. We will be reviewing our strategic plan and revisiting our priorities to ensure continued alignment with community need. And a big focus for 2026 will be reviewing the space needs assessment recommendations and determining our next steps to move forward. A big part of which also feeds into our plans to improve service delivery across our whole service area, while recognizing the need for robust staff recruitment and retention to make any of this happen. And on that note, I would like to thank you once again for your time today and take this opportunity to thank you again for your continued support of and investment in the library and recognizing the vital role that we play in the helpful moments of our community.
Louise, thank you. Any questions, Nathaniel? Go ahead.
Just the new ramp assembly there, that's working out really good.
It's great. Yeah, it's been worth the wait.
Yeah, it's amazing that wasn't thought of when the building was actually built. But anyways, that's wonderful, yeah.
And it was definitely like in the winter, well, the winter that's still happening. The snow with the heat tracing has been phenomenal as well.
Yeah.
Not having to clear that area will be a big win for the community center.
So for handicapped access and everything, it's really good. Yeah, excellent. No, you guys are amazing. You do a wonderful job. It's a great thing for the community. Thank you.
You. Mouse?
I just have a question. Do you use the outdoor deck quite a bit, like in the summer for programs for the kids and stuff, or?
We hadn't been using the outdoor deck that much when it was closed in, just because the space was a little bit awkward, and in the summer it gets really intense midday sun because it's south facing. So one of the things we'll be looking at this year is how to create some sort of shade and make it more functional. We've got some seating out there now, and we find a lot of people sitting on the space working as well. The children's deck is kind of self-enclosed, so we do keep programs out there as well because it's shaded. But now that the other deck is open, we'll be able to do a lot more with that space. And add some more seating and make it more sort of inviting.
You'll probably need outdoor furniture and that sort of thing as well, though, within.
Yeah, we have some bits and pieces there already, but they're gonna need to be secured now that there's no fence to stop them sort of heading off down the ramp. So, yeah. But I think our priority before we get any furniture, we need to address the need for shade. Because it is very, very hot there in the summer.
Right.
And it's not super sheltered during the winter, so that will be something for us to look into.
Just one more comment on your staff area for lunches and things like that. I know it's been a challenge. Do you see some space improvement at all coming up, or?
I think when we have our space needs assessment, sit down and that's where we're gonna have to look at how to get more creative with the space. There's no more space to be had with what we have, so
Yeah.
other than, yeah, I'm not sure what we're gonna do for that, but yeah, we have made some adjustments just to improve the accessibility of the space with height adjusted desks and things, but the actual, the physical space is not something we really can do much more with. But yeah.
Maybe screening or something, I don't know.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go. Because otherwise we'll be back in the clearing the space away from the public again, which is not gonna work either. So, but yeah, these are all the things we'll find a creative solution for. Sure.
Well, you're doing a great job, you and your team, so thank you for everything.
Thanks for the presentation and to you and your staff. Yeah, next up we have Ms. Carpenter and Ms. Romaine, board member, directors from the Pemberton District Museum and Archives.
Hi, everybody.
Afternoon.
Hi, Chair.
We can't just-
Oh, there, I remember.
There we go.
Oh, that's.
Can't touch the floor. Okay. He's on. Thanks again for having us. Good afternoon, committee members and gallery guests. Thanks once again for allowing us to share an update on our museum. With your support, we continue to grow, not just as a heritage site, but as a place of learning, reflection, and connection. Today, I'll share some highlights from the past year and what's guiding our next steps. Next slide, please. 2025 was a special year for the Pemberton Museum, full of community connection, creativity, and collaboration, shaped by vibrant events, engaging programs, and meaningful partnerships. We're excited to share our achievements, the impacts we've had on the community, and our vision for the future as we continue to honor and celebrate Pemberton's unique history. Next slide. So these are just some statistics, just putting things in numbers and understanding sort of the growth that we've had in the last few years. So in 2025, our season ran from June 3rd through to our annual Halloween extravaganza held on October 25th, with regular hours from Tuesday to Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Additionally, from July until mid-August, 3 dedicated board members generously volunteered their time to open the museum on Mondays from noon until 5. This offered visitors an extra opportunity to explore the site and hear firsthand the stories that have shaped our community. I do believe that we included 2 letters of support from 2 of our board members that participated in those Mondays. In 2025, we heard 7 local youth who supported our work while gaining valuable hands-on experience. We welcomed 7,149 guests, a 23% increase from the previous year and returning us to pre-COVID visitor numbers. We hosted 19 school groups, 3 daycare groups, and 1 summer camp, bringing 472 young people to the museum. We also donated the site for the grade 7 graduation trip fundraiser, where they sold art, baked goods, hosted games, and creative activities. The museum was honored to host 2 celebrations of life for beloved Pemberton community members. We also welcomed 2 staff appreciation gatherings, along with board meetings, 2 AGMs, and professional development workshops for local businesses and nonprofit organizations. Our programming included 11 Toonie Teas, 2 art exhibits, the Women's Institute's annual Blueberry Tea, an early morning sober dance party, yoga and breathwork classes, and a wide variety of health and wellness workshops and trainings. In September, we hosted a lively open mic night celebrating the unique talents of local writers, poets, and musicians. The Sioux Building was at capacity with 19 talented locals of all ages taking the stage. We hosted celebrations for both the autumn equinox and winter solstice and look forward to continuing to honor the changing seasons with our community. We continue to explore partnerships and projects with community groups, including the Pemberton Arts Council, the Foundry, local schools, the Pemberton Fire Smart Team, and the Village of Pemberton. We also launched our new website, so if you haven't seen it, check it out. Next slide, please. We're always amazed by how far many of our guests travel to visit Pemberton and our little museum. Being close to Whistler allows a diverse mix of visitors from around the world who often remark on the care, meaning, and sense of place they feel while visiting the site. Our guest book is a delight to read at the end of each day. Next slide, please. Our team. Our hardworking and incredibly supportive board of directors continues to guide and strengthen our mission, helping us grow and innovate. They support and thoughtfully challenge staff, attend events, share our work within the community, and bake delicious treats for our weekly Toonie Teas and annual fundraisers. There's always room for more directors, and we warmly welcome community members to reach out if they are interested in joining our board of directors. Each spring we search for a team of staff who can help us bring the museum to life. We are fortunate to have a few dedicated members return each season, sharing their experience with new staff, ensuring a warm, welcoming, and knowledgeable environment. Next slide, please. The museum is first and foremost a place for the community, and we're grateful for the local support that keeps our history alive. We create engaging programs and events that make Pemberton's history fun and memorable, while also offering a safe and affordable space for community-led activities. Next slide, please. We hosted our second annual season kickoff fundraiser on June 8th, starting the family-friendly activities and a kids' dance party hosted by Ira Petal. The evening ended on a high note with an outdoor concert and dance party featuring the legendary Hair Farmers. We're already looking ahead to our 2026 kickoff fundraiser on June 21st. Our haunted mystery Halloween party was a thrilling season finale, welcoming 488 costume visitors in just 4 hours. The site was alive. It was crazy, actually. It was more than just alive. It was hectic. With laughter, music, and dancing. The cookie bar was bustling and the schoolhouse was filled with crafty chaos, an unforgettable close to a successful season. And next slide, please. Toonie Teas Tuesdays made a triumphant return with 11 events in 2025, welcoming 351 guests to enjoy lively music by talented locals and learn from community experts on topics such as the history of healthcare in the Valley and the plans for an oncology clinic in Pemberton, bear smart practices, invasive species, and the history of growing potatoes in the Valley. Next slide, please. These gatherings were also offered a warm space to connect, share local news, and enjoy a sense of community. We are deeply grateful to our board of directors for their generosity each week, baking homemade treats and helping everyone feel truly at home. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So in 2025, our supplement, sorry, I seem to have missed. Here we go. Funding in 2025. In 2024, the museum hosted 16 events for outside groups, earning over $5,700 In 2025, we had 57 bookings and raised over $7,100 for events and programming. This income is reinvested directly into our programs and events, helping us strengthen our offerings and keep community events and activities accessible for everyone. For over a decade, the museum has successfully accessed employment grants that allow us to hire local youth while strengthening our operations and programming. These opportunities provide young people with valuable work experience and a meaningful connection to their local history while supporting the day-to-day operations of the museum. We continue to actively seek and apply for grants for supporting staff positions, develop and expand our events and programs, and fund building and site improvements. Grant funding also plays a vital role in enhancing visitor experiences through new exhibits, accessibility upgrades, and community-focused projects that ensure the museum's vibrant, welcoming, and sustainable future. Next slide, please. Apologize. I can't count, even though I have page numbers on this. Okay. So in 2026, the projects that we have on the books is we're actively working on our washroom rebuild. With year-round event rentals continuing to grow, the need for accessible and modern washroom facilities has become essential. Plans for a 2-stall, fully accessible washroom were completed last fall. We have completed the permit process and hope to break ground this spring, with project completion expected by the end of 2026. This important upgrade will support increased community use of the site and ensure the museum remains welcoming and accessible for all visitors year-round. The John Arn Cabin Agricultural Exhibit. Research and development are underway for a new agricultural exhibit in the John Arn Cabin. A dedicated committee has begun meeting regularly, and we look forward to engaging the community in shaping this project. Work will continue throughout the off-season with the goal of unveiling the new exhibit in the fall, celebrating Pemberton's rich agricultural history and the people who built it. The development of a five-year strategic plan from 2020 that will cover from 2027 to 2031. In the coming year, the museum will begin development of a new 5-year strategic plan to guide our work from 2027 to 2031. This process will include reflection on our recent growth, meaningful community engagement, and a collaboration with our board, staff, and partners. The plan will help set priorities for programming, site development, financial stability, and partnerships, ensuring the museum continues to serve the community with purpose while preserving and sharing Pemberton's stories for future generations. Next slide. Thank you for this opportunity to share our work and future plans. The staff and board of directors are honored by the responsibility entrusted to us. We invite our community and visitors from around the globe to explore Pemberton's vibrant history and embark on a journey of discovery with us. I would also like to extend a personal invitation to each member of the committee to tour the museum in 2026 to see firsthand how the museum has grown and evolved over the past 5 years and how the support that you've given us has been invested in our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
No, the only thing I have to say is it's a wonderful place. It's just lots of neat stuff there. So keep going.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. I've been to a few different events this year, just meetings and other kind of events, and I really appreciate the creativity you guys have brought to sort of broadening what you're offering there and different things for different members of the community. So it's gotten me in there a few other extra times for sure, and I really enjoyed it. So
it's nice that we can be in an affordable space so that accessibility is really open to pretty much anything that people want to put together. So.
When you walk in there, you're in a little world now. Like
Yeah.
it used to be peaceful. Now you walk in, it's a whole little.
We look forward to that growing over this next year as well.
Awesome. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Our last delegation is from Pemberton Valley Trail Association, Ms. Morin. Oh, yes.
two.
Oh, we got two.
Two. Yes.
Excellent. Table is yours when you're ready.
Hi everyone, thanks so much for having us. So I am Kaylee Morin, who's on the agenda there. I'm the VP of Pemberton Valley Trails Association. I also work professionally in the nonprofit sector and have for the last 15 years in fundraising and communications.
Yeah, hi, my name is Ariane Labush. I'm the executive director of the PPTA.
All right, so we'll go to the next slide. Thanks so much. We're grateful to live, work, and recreate on the unceded lands of Lillooet Nation. And you'll see sort of throughout our work that every sort of piece of work that we do is sort of demonstrating this commitment to deepening our understanding, working in humility, and working together with the community on the trails. Next slide, please. So we don't take for granted that people know what we do. Different trails associations look different in different jurisdictions in the Sea to Sky even. So with the PBTA, we're a registered charity, and we're unique in that we represent all different trail users. So everything from mountain bikes to trail runners to hikers to the equine community, which is growing in their trail use again, dirt bikers and more. We are guided by the Trails Master Plan, which is a collaborative document that was put together by many of the key stakeholders, landowners in the community. And that there's a list there for you. So Lillooet Nation, PORCA, SLRD, VOP, PBHA, which is the Horse Association newly created a couple of years ago. The Dirt Bike Association, also Pemberton Wildlife Association, and more stakeholders. You can go to the next slide. So this is our impact in 2025. We have a paid trail crew who works on trail maintenance and projects to make sure that it is sustained. And this year we had over 1,000 hours contributed by that crew, which is just over 30% increase year over year. And we were able to do that with some diversified funding that we achieved last year, as well as having more crew hours available. So we were really happy to be able to do that, take on some more work. That represents 70 trails maintained. We had one trail approved under Section 57, which is a complicated process that's super collaborative and involved all those stakeholders that I just listed in the previous slide. But this is helping us protect the trail network over time, and it's an important piece of recognizing that we're on unceded territory with this trail network as well. And through events, we had over 440 volunteer trail maintenance hours contributed. So we do volunteer trail events, local businesses sponsor them, and then we are able to bring trail users out to help build and maintain trails. It both offers people an opportunity to get out on the land, while also ensuring that we're talking about sustainable trail building and trying to reduce the amount of road trail building that's happening and getting them into the right channels and the productive channels with us. And that happened for we had 11 trail days last year, and there's the long list of trails that were supported by volunteers this year. Next slide.
So a bit more than just trail maintenance. So here are just a little bit of photos of our projects for 2025. So the first one would be the replacement of most of the kiosk maps that you can see at the bottom left of the slide here. We only have 2 remaining one that we need to replace in the Rutherford area, just because the map is going to be a little bit different. And then the next column at the top, this is volunteers working on this new connector, the new trail that Kaylee was mentioning under the Section 57. And then if you go, sorry about that, but the next column at the bottom, you see a photo of some youth from the Lillooet High School, and they were actually the one starting the trail on the first ever trail day that we've done with this group in collaboration with PORCA. Going back to this other column on the left, we started a corporate membership in 2025, which really increased our funding. For 2026, we're looking to switch it to a sponsorship, but it's basically going to be the same. So that was a huge success. And it's kind of bringing in the local businesses to support the trail network as well. Going back to this right column, at the top, we collaborated with PORCA and many stakeholders from the Trails Working Group on a sustainable trail building workshop that was hosted at the library. Again, huge success, and we're looking to do this again in 2026. We added some new Mosquito Lake Loop signage. And then we did a new fundraiser this year, which was the holiday map sale. So we printed off on the same material as the kiosk maps, some maps of the Pemberton trails, and then we're selling those just to increase our funding a little bit. Next slide, please.
So this is the opportunity that we continue to grow with PVIS through the partnership and the funding that you provide. So as you are well aware, there's an increased use and growing demand on the trail network on all facilities, right, in Pemberton, being one of the fastest growing villages in BC. We know that there was an 89% increase in use from 2019 to 2024. 41% of those users are from out of town, so there's also a lot of sort of sustainable tourism considerations as the town continues to grow. Just in 2024, we had 2 new trail-based sports clubs registered, so that just is more stakeholders to engage with and to bring into the fold and, you know, to consult and those types of things. And a growing trail running community. So there's been multiple trail races, I'm sure you're also aware, that have been added to sort of the Pemberton and Lillooet area. So we're definitely seeing a huge influx from that community as well. And as we've mentioned, so, you know, one of the core pieces of our work is working respectfully with Lillooet Nation in recognition of the fact that the trail network is on unceded territory. And so a lot of this work behind the scenes before shovels ever hit the ground is working at tables with Lillooet title and rights and ensuring that we are working in a good way with the community, along with consulting with other user groups and other key stakeholders who represent different values like environmental and things like that. And thirdly, and unsurprisingly for everyone who's probably in this room, there's an enormous economic and community impact when it comes to the trail network. I think most people live here because of the trails, some kind of aspect of it. It definitely brings in a lot when you think about development and housing and, you know, jobs and all that, it's all intertwined. And so just because we don't have a recent, and we'd like to get one, but we don't have a recent economic study for Pemberton specifically, we compared ourselves to Squamish. Luckily, we had an economic study done the same year as them, so we can kind of benchmark ourselves against their growth and make some, you know, just some estimations if our growth was a certain percentage of theirs. And based on that, if we are just even 25% of the Squamish growth since that time, we're looking at least $1.2 million in contribution to the local economy, and that's just mountain biking. So that doesn't include the hiking and the running and the equine and all the other things that are also growing. So we're quite confident that we're higher up than that as far as economic contribution and the value of the trails. Next slide. So this is our funding sources. We maintain trails through a variety of ways. So the physical maintaining of the trails, which is our trail crew, doing the back end work for new projects, for example, like getting a section 57 where we can go and improve the network and make the network more sustainable, volunteer coordination to ensure that the community is involved and engaged, and trail advocacy. So as new developments come up, for example, we're often tapped to provide feedback on trail impacts and things like that for new housing developments. And so one of our core focuses of the last couple of years has to diversify and really aim for sustainability for the organization. We want to be able to become a very sustainable organization so that the trails become sustainable for the community. So we have about 40% coming from local government, which is predominantly the funding that you provided as our core funding, and it assures that we are able to have some staff, and it's essential for us. We've taken an opportunity to really strategize around our grant approach this year. And we've applied for federal and provincial funding that we haven't in the past, thinking differently about our work, including framing it up around sustainable tourism impacts on the trails and trying to get funding through those files. So we're really taking a creative approach to try and infuse more money to the organization. As Ariane has said as well, we really took a focus on corporate memberships, which was a relatively new thing. I think it maybe was officially started a couple of years ago. And last year we rejigged it and incentivized it and pitched it to the community, and we quadrupled our corporate membership year over year. So that was a huge piece of growth for us as well. And then also, like Ariane had said, just looking for some creative opportunities to fundraise. The map that we have worked on is on the back there. You can take a look at the end of the meeting if you'd like. It represents hundreds of hours of work. So this was just one of many things that we did this year, but the amount of consultation that it takes to update a map, to ensure it matches digitally, the importance for search and rescue to have an accurate map that people can use and know how to get in and out of trails. We match that with wayfinding signage to make sure people know where they are. Mount Currie Trail is a great example. Last year we did that and the wayfinding was a disaster, and it is much improved this year through the PBTA. So the main point we want to make here is that we are coming to PVIS for more funding this year, and we are also coming to every other funding source for more funding this year. And we'd like to grow together and professionalize the organization because the demands in the organization are exceeding the volunteer capacity at the time. Next slide.
Hey, so in 2025, PVIS funding had a direct and meaningful impact on both the sustainability of the PBTA and the quality of our trail network. So first, it allows us to maintain a
an ED position at a minimum of 15 hours per week. So this ensures proper admin coverage, strengthens our financial sustainability, and provides consistent leadership to support long-term trail development and stewardship. Second, the funding enables us to continue employing a part-time trail manager along with 2 part-time maintenance staff. This is critical for keeping our trails safe, well-maintained, and responsive to community use and environmental needs. It also supports ongoing collaboration with key community stakeholders to advance the goals outlined in the Pemberton Trails Master Plan. And finally, we're excited to share, well, Kelly shared already, that the new BSF connector has officially begun, and this is really a major milestone for our trail network. Next slide, please. So as trail use continues to grow in both volume and complexity, our service model needs to evolve. So we need to shift from a volunteer primarily structure to a more sustainable professional operations model. So right now, the board workload is simply not sustainable. Each director contributes over 300 volunteers hours per week. And since 2023, more than 1,000 volunteer hours have gone directly into trail maintenance. But this is also highly complex work. So we're dealing with land tenure, multiple jurisdictions, government processes, environmental consideration, and risk management. And so this level of responsibility should not rely primarily on volunteers. Our trails are a core community and economic asset of Pemberton. With over 200 kilometers of trail, the scale and complexity now exceeds what a volunteer model can responsibly support. And so to meet this reality, we're requesting an increase in core funding from 39,000 to 55,000 to build the professional capacity needed to manage and steward this network properly. Next slide, please. And so our goals are focused on protecting trail safety, sustainability, and long-term community value through targeted staffing and strategic investment. On the staffing side, we're proposing a 20-hour per week ED. So right now we're at 15 to provide consistent leadership and operational oversight, along with a 15-hour per week marketing coordinator to support communication, fundraising, and visibility. We also want to add an outreach coordinator also at 15 hours per week to help strengthen volunteer engagement and education initiatives. And we're looking to expand our trail crew to properly support the 200 kilometers of trail that we're maintaining at the moment. On the initiative side, our work will stay aligned with the Trails Master Plan, including priority trail updates. We will continue hosting volunteer trail days and growing the community trail builder program, invest in youth and community education, and replace the remaining 2 kiosk map I was mentioning in the Rutherford area. And so together, these investments ensure we're not just maintaining trails, we're stewarding a critical community asset responsibly and sustainably. Next slide, please. And so building on those priorities, this budget reflects the resources required to deliver on that plan. And so our total expenses for 2026 are projected at around $241,000, with the majority allocated to staffing and trail operations. And so this ensures we have the leadership, field capacity, and communication support needed to manage the trails responsibly and safely. The remaining expenses covers essential operating costs, and so that's insurance, training, tools, material, and admin support, just to keep the organization running effectively. On the revenue side, we're projecting about $242,000, and so this includes PVIS funding with an increase, conservative grant estimates, sponsorships, and diversified revenue that Kaylee mentioned before. And so overall, this is a balanced and sustainable budget that aligns directly with our strategic goals and positions us for steady and responsible growth. Next slide, please. So in closing, first of all, thank you for taking the time to review our 2026 plan and budget, and also thank you for the ongoing support of PBIS. And so the investment we're proposing are thoughtful, strategic, and directly tied to trail safety, sustainability, and long-term community benefit. And so with your support, we can continue protecting and improving over 200 kilometers of trail while strengthening volunteer engagement, youth education, and responsible stewardship. So your funding is not just supporting maintenance, it's supporting a community asset that contributes to recreation, tourism, economic activity, and quality of life in Pemberton and surrounding area. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Questions?
Excellent presentation, you guys. Like, yeah, very, very impressed. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys, and thanks for the presentation. And I have a lot of respect for the approach that PBTA takes. Like, you use humble at the beginning. I think that's really, the collaborative and the way you approach the shared lands. I think it's awesome. So thanks for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to thank you for all your work. It's quite a trail network. It's pretty impressive. Bar none, I think it stands up for the rest of the province and how to do it, really. Is there any way that we can sort of get users, like 41% of the people coming from out of our area, to contribute to this? Is there some kind of strategy that you guys may have to help fund?
Well, this is like, I've been talking to a lot of EDs of like Sorka, Worka through the Sea to Sky, and that's something, even like on the island, this is something that all the trails kind of groups are struggling with. So there are like QR codes. If you're going on the trails, there's many QR codes that people can just scan and donate to the trails. We're also talking a lot with Tourism Pemberton now to see how they can support us in funding the trails, or having more visibility through the visitors that comes to Pemberton. But it is always a struggle, and even like the bigger Trails Association, it's a focus, and it's something that is in the conversations in every meeting that we have. How can we try to get support from the visitors? So it is like on our radar, and we have a few ideas, especially with the visitor center in the upcoming year. So more to come on this one for sure. It's also a big reason why, like, one of the big funding files that we've applied for this year and we have not heard back from yet, Pacifican, is specifically framing up our work as it comes to sustainable tourism and how we can better engage tourists. And so part of that marketing role that you saw is with the intention to be able to engage with people that are coming through the community, so that they understand what this world-class network takes, and that they're benefiting from it, and that they can contribute back. So you do, like, again, I work in fundraising, you do have to spend a little to engage to get your funding back, right? So it's a bit of a cycle, cart before the horse. We need to be able to engage with tourists, and again, with a 15-hour-a-week ED who is meeting with Lillooet, maybe meeting with VOP, to be able to then go do like a campaign with tourists that are coming through Pemberton, it's just an enormous amount of work. So we would really like to, it's an untapped area of support, but we need to have some resourcing in order to be able to start that in like an effective way. Because we do have some ideas, but again, to like put them into place, it takes a lot of time. We did some benchmarking. If you're looking at, let's say, Revelstoke, they have amazing programs for tourism. And an example is if you're a tourist in Revelstoke and you're giving your time to the trails, you can get a free night at a hotel. So it's kind of like these initiatives that get people engaged, but they take time to put in place. So it's definitely something that we'd like to focus more on.
I really like the idea of the collaborative effort with the tourism, Pemberton and the Chamber of Commerce, and maybe some bike companies and so on as well that can.
Yeah, exactly. That's on our strategy this year.
Everything, it's all in our,
So our commitment is that we are looking at every possible area to increase our funding and increase our sustainability. And we're not asking PBIS to represent more, to be honest, than that 40%, just that we are growing the pie. We're really looking to become more sustainable from all areas of funding, and to start looking at areas that we haven't in the past, to make sure that we are not leaving anything untapped. But it is sort of this, you need some forward motion to be able to get the resourcing behind. And right now our board is contributing like just in an absolutely enormous amount of effort. And we'd like to get them into more of a governance role and have more paid staff so that, you know, board members are on terms, they leave every 2 years, people have full-time jobs and families, like, it's just not sustainable. Whereas if we can get people who are employed, not only does it offer more employment in the community, which is amazing, especially if we can get provincial funding from that or federal funding to do that, it also will allow the organization to sustain itself into the future, regardless of who's on the board and how long they can stay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, ready to get to carry on? Number 6 on the consent agenda, would anybody like to pull anything or move? To the approval, Director Kenneth, second by Director Matt, opposed, motion carries. Any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, we're on 8.1, SLRD CAO report. CAO Paul.
Hi, everyone, Heather Paul, CAO-FLRD. And nothing to report, only wanted to mention that the SLRD was one of the staff engagement, staff recognition events at the museum, and we had a win. And it was a great barbecue, beautiful day. The weather was kind to us and the staff there were very hospitable.
Thank you. Motion received, please. Max, second by Director Kenneth, opposed, motion carries. VOP CAO, Ms. Tracy.
Yes, through the chair, Elizabeth Tracy, Chief Administrative Officer at the Village of Pemberton. I do not have anything to report today either.
So we're on to 8.3, direction request, the draft Pemberton area C shared budget. Hey, Colin.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Oh. Get your fuel. Yeah, so this is bringing back the PVIS budgets for the second review for most of these services. Just some high level information to start. The 2026 completed assessment role has been completed, and the changes for Village of Pemberton was a 3.5% increase over 2025, and for electoral area C, it is an 8.1% increase. You will also see in the report that there's a summary of the change of the cost per 500K of assessment value. The total change in this report is negative $170. I would just like to highlight that that's mainly due to the fact that the new recreation agreement has the contribution amount to the recreation center being brought to the board and not PVIS. So there's a large amount of funding that was previously presented to PVIS and is no longer being presented at this meeting. Moving into the first budget, we have the cost center 1702, which is our Pemberton Fire Rescue Service. The majority of funding for this service is requested by VOP to provide fire services and rescue services. You'll notice in 2026, there's a significant increase in the taxation amount of 56%. This is due to the fact that we were capped with the maximum requisition in 2025 and we're taxing to recover the deficit that was incurred last year. You will notice that we have included a 5-year plan with this service on this agenda, and you'll see that the requisition amount does reduce in 2027. Back to, it goes from 380,000 down to 332,000 as a preliminary estimate for 2027. But overall, the actual increase in VOP's request is currently at 9% over 2025. Yeah, I'll open up to any questions.
Yeah, so what was the deficit?
The
Last year?
deficit was $54,000. 54,000.
54,000?
Yeah.
And that was because we didn't have requisition room.
Pardon me?
That was because we didn't have requisition room at the SLRD side to add funds, so it got carried to this year. It wasn't that the service ran at a deficit, it was that last year when we got to this point, there wasn't enough ceiling in the requisition for us, so it got carried into this year.
Correct, so and it
So that
took us
goes back
longer to increase the maximum requisition than. We obviously couldn't get that done for the 2025 budget, but
And
it's.
that's why it goes back down to
Exactly,
337 order.
so we're essentially requisitioning for the increase from last year that we couldn't fund because of the max requisition limit.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, so we don't have any, we're gonna wait to.
I would, for this service, I would wait to recommend, just because I know there's still some fire committee meetings and I know it's a preliminary amount, so.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware, it hasn't been confirmed, so I would recommend bringing this back.
So yeah, there's also that opportunity, Russell, the fire committee meeting coming up.
Pardon me?
There's also another fire committee meeting coming up, so
Yeah.
more opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, then on to search and rescue.
Yeah, so the next service is cost center 1705. This is our Pemberton search and rescue service. There was a requested increase by the society of 51%. The requisition in 2025 was 45,000, and this year it's $69,050. Obviously, we just had the society present as a delegation. And we do have a 5-year plan shown in this agenda as well. Are there any questions on this service?
Any questions on the budget? So I think this is where the conversations are gonna start to get difficult. You know, we had 4 delegations today and there's still fire, there's still a rec to come through the board. Everybody's asking for an increase and I don't think we can afford to give every increase that was requested of us. I mean, I didn't start taking the math till partway through, but you know, it's 20K increase for here, it's 16 for PBTA. It was like 3 or 5 for the museum, the library, so I'm just putting that context out there as we start to talk about it, because every one of those presentations was really good.
Sadly, all the requests are very valid, you know, so it puts us in a really kind of tough position, because like say those 2 young ladies that presented for the Pemberton Valley Trails, they're super impressive, right? And you know, and the library, and I mean, they're all impressive, but yeah, you want to say, yeah, geez, we need to come up with the money to support these people. So yeah, how do we do that?
So in terms of other budgets coming, Colin, like this is the bulk of the remaining budgets that we need to consider, right? Like we have recreation coming through the board.
Yeah, so it's just all the previous budgets are on this agenda, but I just wanted to highlight the fact that that main recreation piece has been moved to the
Yeah,
board,
exactly.
and so that's not on this agenda, and that is, I do have some information on that I can share if you.
Well, I guess what
For the context.
I'm trying to, one thing I sort of like to have in my head as we're breaking each of these budgets down a little bit is what the total impact is. If we were to be able to fund all of these increases and whatever, recreation is still to come, it's still the same split, it's just going through the board, right? Like none of those costs have changed, so I'm just curious what when we include whatever recreation is bringing forward, fire, search and rescue, library, what's the total impact on our budget?
Well, maybe I can just comment on the recreation piece, because I know that it's not coming to this meeting, but I do have some preliminary figures that have been discussed. For total taxation amount in 2025 for all of the recreation services was 1.912 million. And our expected cost in 2026, which includes those recreation services that are on PB's agenda today, and the contribution that will go to the board, is 1.96 million, which is a difference of $47,000, or a 2.5% increase over 2025. And obviously disclaimer that those numbers are subject to change because when they will come to the board, but that's kind of the numbers we've been discussing.
And so again, really quickly, if you were to add them up, PSAR is 20, 47 for rec, I'm just talking increases, 16 for PBTA. It was 4 for the museum, and what was the library increase?
16
How much?
for PVTA.
No, the library.
I'll go get that.
I'm just going by average 5 hours.
It was around 94,000, 22% increase.
94 increase?
They requested.
So if we add all those numbers up and then start working backwards,
It's like $185,000
Yeah.
increase.
I will note that that request from the library, there's a portion of that that's related to the rent. Because we were transferring to Pemberton
Yeah, 'cause
Community Center and we paid the rent on their behalf, and so that rent was 57,000.
Okay,
So that's an important piece that the request has gone up, but they are requesting that rent that we normally paid.
So we're looking at, just very quick math, just to give us a starting point, we're looking at about $130,000 increase in all of our centers. I said, no, that's a really round number for an accountant to hear. It's probably freaking you out a little bit when I round out like that, but.
I like things that are easy for everyone to understand, so
Again, we should break it down, but just to give us context, it's $130,000 in increase or thereabouts. There is a little bit extra room, I don't know, usually like to measure that, but through increase in our role or our assessment. But yeah, just in terms of what that represents to the taxpayer, I'm not sure.
There is the per 500K assessment on page 2 of the staff report. It does include removing some rec services.
Yeah, it's hard because the rec service is gone.
But we could probably take that map and remove rec services. You know. Bolanos, which ones are the highest? And the other that's bigger. I know we keep getting a phone call there.
somebody phoning us.
It's no number.
So. PSAR's full increase request amounts to $2.31 per 500K. Well, I don't know if what I'm doing is helping anybody else at the table, but anybody have some thoughts how you want to proceed?
Well, I guess what I'd like to see is if we funded everything as requested, what does that do to our tax rate? Like how much of an increase? And then I can say, then start working backwards from there to where someplace where we're comfortable.
So, and what's our timelines looking now on our budget process here, Colin? The next steps are we hoping to, our next meeting in March, I guess, is the meeting where we would hopefully adopt all the budgets. Right?
Well, we have to adopt by the end of March,
Yeah.
like our full financial plan, so I mean. It's helpful for us to approve any that are able to approve, but if there's certain ones that would like to come back in March, that's totally doable, just like the fire one. And maybe this is some helpful context, if we remove the recreation, because I know that's a bit of a moving piece. Based on Pemberton Fire and all the other services today, the change cost per $500,000 of assessment value is $12.
So
All of it.
For all services excluding all the recreation services. Because
500,000, which is obviously.
Yeah, so
That's the million and a half is the minimum drop.
so it would be like $48 for 2 million.
And that includes the Pemberton Fire Rescue Service, which would be a large portion of that. because that's obviously a large increase this year as well.
So that includes all the ones that we've got here, with the exception of whatever recreation increase we would, which normally would be here about. Okay. I don't wanna kick this down the road. I don't know if we want any more information or if we could start, you know. You look at it that way, that's not an enormous increase, that's $50 per $2 million home. Plus whatever.
And just for some further context, if we're just talking about the 5 delegations that are being discussed today, which is Pemberton Search and Rescue, the museum, the library, the Area C Cemetery, and then I'm including the PBTA, but that's the whole service, not just PBTA specifically, that's a $4.30 change for 500K of assessment value.
In addition to the 12.
No, it's 12, and then I've removed the others that aren't on the delegation.
So $20 for 2 million, say.
Yeah, exactly, for just the people who presented today and including the library, but just to note with the PBTA, like they requested 20,000, but they're part of that larger service for the Pemberton Valley Trails.
So, yeah, but the most of the increases that we're seeing here, like just to try to give us some context, what Colin's giving us is that without recreation. The other ones are going, the increases in all the other budgets cumulatively come to about what you said, about $50 per 2 million.
Yeah, like
12 for
430, so it's
I rather round up and make sure. But just to be conservative that way, I don't want
$18-20 in there, for a $2 million property.
18?
For a $2 million
I thought
property.
you said it was $12 per 500K.
Oh, sorry, I'm talking about just the
No,
delegate.
I said the whole entirety of them.
For the entirety, for a $2 million property would be, $48. Sorry.
Thanks.
A lot of numbers in front of me.
Yeah. And again, that doesn't.
Okay, so. And tell me what that includes then. It includes all the people that were here today.
Everything on your agenda except recreation, including everybody that was here today.
Pemberton Fire, Pemberton Search and Rescue, Pemberton Refuse, Pemberton TV, both of the PDIF services, the museum, the library, the cemetery, and the recreational trails, the Pemberton trails.
So the only additional cost that we would normally see here, but still affects our taxpayers through the different process, will be recreation. Everything else is being represented from what Colin just states.
And, okay, so how much do you think that the recreation is gonna add to all this? So for a total,
In terms of increase? Yeah.
I was just trying to figure out why my math was different from Colin's. I have 1413 for all the Gun Lake Park, Gates Lake Park.
I removed that because that was recreation.
Oh,
It's captured.
it'll stay here, it stays.
I know that it stays here, but just in terms of like the whole piece, I have just removed all recreation services.
Right, okay.
So this is the problem of doing it on the fly.
No, that's okay, I just wanted clarification.
Yes, I mean, I will definitely speak to Gates Lake when we get there because I am aware that that is staying with us. But I just, because we're also paying that recreation contribution, but that's now the board, it's hard to work with all those numbers and I don't wanna try and edit those on the fly.
Like, I mean, this isn't like the way we're doing this is kind of interesting to me. Normally, I like to look at the budgets and go, okay, what makes the most sense and where are things that can be tightened if need be. Right now, I feel like we've looked at all the budgets and gone, there's nothing in there that we really want to tighten ourselves. I don't want to do any scratching off myself on those lines because I think that'd be irresponsible. But the question we're asking ourselves is this an acceptable increase at this point? And if not, then we have to pare back some of the requests. Again, it's a little bit backwards budgeting, but I don't know, I say that, but I don't want to open up the library budget and go, you should spend $1,000 less on this one item. Like, I'm not qualified to do it.
yeah, I actually feel somewhat comfortable with what this is now. Because like I'm, in my mind, so it's at 500,000 is a totally unrealistic number for. Find me a $500,000 home in this area, but anyways, 2 million. And then you were at $48, an increase of $48 on 2 million.
That's why we're in recreation things.
I don't think that's overextending. So how much does that work out then? $4 a month?
Yeah.
Is that what that works out to? Right?
Yeah, I think so.
Bear in mind that we also have. Right now,
Recreation.
9.3% proposed at the regional district budgets, and then we have our own increases as well. Like, it's not just.
Yeah.
$50
Yeah.
or $48, it's 48 plus the regional district budgets, and then there's municipal.
Yeah,
budget.
I understand that, but so it works out to, at this rate here, works out to $4 a month, right?
The increases.
To increase and fund all this stuff. I can live with that. Now, when you start adding all the others up, you might end up getting up to $10 a month, $8 a month, something like that. The thing is, this area is growing dramatically. And people want to have services.
Be able to afford to live here.
And I know that, but you know, the price of homes and all that stuff is what it is. We can't control that. And I think we do a really good job of keeping everything as affordable as possible, what we do have control of. But like I say, when these people come and they make these presentations, they're not asking, in my mind, for anything outrageous. They're trying to provide the best service they possibly can for our constituents at a reasonable rate. And, you know, I guess you have to factor in too the cost of inflation. So what's that, like 2%, 2.1% of that would be inflation. So.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look to you, Director Ramsden, and for any broad comments, and then I'll take us back to each individual budgets here. Go ahead.
Just a comment that I feel with everything that we've seen today and presentations we've seen, I think we're getting a pretty big bang for our buck, actually.
I mean, honestly, I think that with regards to most of our taxes collected, folks get good bang for their buck, and I would say that quite confidently. But it's also, again, can they afford it? Well, once we add up all our different taxes and every other element, are we comfortable? You know, 9.3 right now at the SLRD, we did 3% at the hospital district. You know, village hasn't contemplated their tax increase yet, but you know, you add all that up, school's gonna go up, policing's gonna go up. So I agree, it's great bang for the buck, and that's why we're humming and hawing over here, right? Because it's all really good stuff. I just want to make sure that we're keeping affordability in mind as we're making these decisions.
I know, and there's Dyken District and all the rest of it. I get it.
I know you do. Director Ramsden, do you have any comments before I go back into the budgets?
Yeah, well, I think this is the quandary. You know, we're in a rock and a hard place. We're getting everything that is being presented to us seems very worthwhile. It's being done at, you know, they're being provided at an incredible cost. But then there is the reality of, at the end of the day, what can people actually afford? Because we, you know, and then we want all this stuff, but the question is, you know, can our residents actually afford all of this? And so I was just, I mean, and that's where I think sometimes it can be not deceptive, but you know, like when we talk in percentage increases, getting an idea of what the actual change in dollar value is. So I was wondering with that, you know, the 9.3% that's potentially being contemplated at the board, do you have an idea of roughly what that would turn out like in terms of $1 million or $2 million home? I'm just trying to get an idea of like, you know,
We
potentially.
are testing your nimbleness today here, Colin.
That's of the total,
The 9.3, what was represented in the draft budgets was 9.3 increase at the board. What does that come to in a slow increase?
give me 1 second here. So that, I mean. Because, yeah, so I mean, the 9.7 is board agenda items, so it's not a full picture of the total SRD, just wanna clarify that, but
Yes,
that 9.7% is a $33 increase per $500,000 of assessment value. So our total board requisition in 2025 was 6.8 million. 2026 current estimates are 7.5 million, which is a change of 660,000, which then is a $33 change year over year in the cost per 500K of assessment value, which would then be 130-ish for 2 million.
So 130-ish per 2 million plus $15 per 2 million. So our increases, but just without, you know, nothing's been approved at the board, just to be clear. Or not, a lot hasn't been approved yet. But where it stands right now, we would be looking between PVIS shared, not including rec, PVIS shared and SLRD increase, we're looking at $180 per person increase.
For a 2 million home.
$2 million. So, not insignificant. Go ahead, Director Anderson.
yeah, and I recognize that it can be difficult for us to make decisions. You know, to a certain extent, we do have to, like, we're looking just at this budget, but I think it does provide context, is like, because that portion of the budget, and like you said, there's hospital, there's policing, etc. So I'm wondering if something that, you know, we do look at saying, what would a scenario look like if we approved for all the budget increases, instead of approving 100% of it, we did 75% of it, just to get an idea. Yeah, because similar to what you were saying, Director Richmond, I don't have the expertise to go line by line and, you know, like start crossing out specific line items in individual budgets. But it is, I get a little, yeah, I don't know if we should be considering kind of, I guess, to be more equitable with it, because everybody is very deserving, and then allowing the organizations to make adjustments, to make the adjustments that they need. But, you know, saying something, you know, looking at doing something like a 75% approval of the requested increase across the board.
Okay, thank you. So everybody's sort of given some overall thoughts. Let's get back into the individual budgets then. If there is any of these that we want to bring back, we can bring them back. We have one more crack at it in March, so that's available if we want to send any back and say, offer the opportunity to refine their budgets, or we can decide here now. So permanent fire rescue will wait till the committee meeting. Permanent search and rescue. Well, in terms of percentages, this is the biggest single increase.
So we're gonna,
I think, yeah, and I think some important context for this one is, Pemberton Search and Rescue has essentially received around 38,000 for probably the last 10+ years. And they haven't really requested an increase until last year. Where at this table, when they presented, they mentioned that they had cost increases and they came back with a revised budget request for some additional costs. So this request would be really their first kind of large increase in quite a long time. Just some important context specifically for this service, yeah.
so I know we're gonna do the permanent rescue service. That's the rescue truck service, right?
Fire rescue.
So I'm looking at this, so the actual, the budget for 2025 was 244, 113.
Which one are you on, sorry?
Well, I just wanna have, get this explained. So, Pemberton Rescue Service,
1702, yeah.
yeah, so that was, the budget for 2025 was 244, 113.
That was the requisition limit, so that was the maximum we could tax. But the request from the village of Pemberton was actually 297,000, and that's on the line underneath expenses 50610, the miscellaneous operating cost. So we didn't have, at the time, we were hoping to increase the requisition, which is why we had this miscellaneous revenue, which was an unconfirmed amount of 54,000. We weren't able to increase the requisition in time, and we didn't have any other funding, so we ended up having a deficit of 54,000. And in 2026, we're essentially increasing taxation by that 54,000 to cover the deficit, along with the increased request by Pemberton, or enough to cover Pemberton's annual request.
But
It's not,
there
it's not a budget increase request, it's a carryover from last year, if you recall.
but
So
the
we're,
budget has gone from, and even with this money we owe from last year, it's gone from 244 to 380.
that's the taxation amount. The actual request from Village of Pemberton for the operations of the service went from 297 in 2025 to 325 in 2026. So that was only a 9% increase. The big change in the requisition is just due to that cap of the maximum requisition, which it has now been corrected or increased because we went through all the process to increase that limit for.
So it's a 9% increase is what it is. It's not that 50 some is carryover. So we'll leave that one to the fire committee, Pemberton.
Yeah.
Pemberton Search and Rescue. Again, great presentation. When he listed off what the budget increases were about, it was quite a long list. It was kind of hard to put your finger on one, but and as Colin mentioned, they haven't asked for an increase in quite some time. So what do we want to do?
So Pemberton Search and Rescue, they're going from 45 to 69, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
That's a 51% increase.
Well, like you say, the sad thing is, they went for about 10 years with no increases. Which is not good management, right?
Well, whatever, they kept their
Yeah.
budget tight, we shouldn't
Yeah.
punish them for that.
No, but the only problem is, they weren't even getting a cost of living increase each year, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And here we are all of a sudden, I know it's totally justified, but we need to make sure we tell all these folks they need to at least apply for a cost of living increase every year. If they're not gonna,
Yeah, and
because if you go 10 years without anything at 2% a year, figured out it's 20%, you're behind right off, right?
yeah, and through the chair, we do see that the large organizations typically do request that sort of incremental inflation increases, but with some of the smaller organizations and their small budgets, like they might have a carry forward from the previous year that they don't actually need that funding.
Yeah.
And we don't want to encourage them to just submit a 2 or 3% increase every year. We would like them to actually submit an accurate budget based on what they require.
Yeah.
I do think in this scenario, it's a bit of an odd one where they never requested funding and they probably could have used a cost of living adjustment over the last 10 years. As we all know, like search and rescue has gone up in cost and probably number of calls as well, but yeah, I just think that was important context that really this is their first major increase in 10+ years.
I don't have a problem with funding these folks for what they're asking because of all the new, say, hopefully they get this helicopter stuff all sorted out by the end of the month. So they're gonna need the extra funding for sure.
Director Ramsden, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna clarify, I guess, a question from their presentation. So is a large or the majority of the increase requested to cover in the event that they do get this? No, okay.
No, he cited quite a list when he made, near the end of his presentation, he said, so the budget increases are represented by operational equipment costs, equipment replacement, so he sort of lumped them, you know, he didn't break it down as to, didn't sound like there was any single big, as often we'll see, you know, we wanna hire an ED or something, and there's a single big item that pushes there. It was a bit of a complete list, we'll call it. So,
Yeah, it's so, I mean, I'm tending. This is difficult. The thought that I'm having right now is, what if we were to contemplate, you know, meeting them halfway in their crest? So like roughly speaking, they're asking for, I know this is rough, but a $25,000 increase. So if we looked at something like, what about like, you know, granting them 15,000 of that increase, and as we go through the rest of the budget, and then see how that kind of affects the final overall increase. I mean, the work they do is incredible. I acknowledge that they've done a really good job of running on a very tight budget for a while. But it's a significant jump along with all the other requests that we're getting.
yeah, I mean, we can keep those comments in mind, go to the other ones and come back to this budget if that's what people want. So our three options are this: we can carry on to the next and see if there's any savings made, which I see what that looks like. And come back to this one. We can have a motion to approve the budget as presented, or we could have the motion to approve a budget reduced by a certain amount. Those are our three options here.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve this budget as presented.
Okay, is there a seconder? Dr. Kennett, discussion?
Yeah.
No discussion, I'll call the question. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Right.
Right, moving on to.
Yes, the next one is cost center 1900, which is the Pemberton Refuse Grounds. This was brought back in January and was approved, so we're just bringing it back with the 5-year plan for review, so it doesn't need to be approved again via resolution. But the 5-year plan is just being brought forward for the committee's review. There's nothing significant that in the 5-year plan. You will notice there's actually a slight estimated reduction in costs in 2027. That's due to two reasons. One is we no longer have the short-term borrowing costs, and then also we don't have a budgeted transfer to reserve. But we do have essentially that budget surplus. There's 124,000 budgeted transfer to reserve, which is mostly our surplus this year. So,
Anyone got any questions on the 5-year plan for Pemberton Refuse? No, thank you. Thanks for being here, Maylou.
moving along, then we have the next is cost center 2004, which is the Pemberton TV and radio rebroadcasting service. This was also approved back in January, so it's just coming in front of the committee today to review the 5-year plan.
Any questions?
No.
Okay.
So next we're moving into our recreation services. As we've already discussed, there's a pretty big change this year with the recreation center being transferred to the village of Pemberton. This first cost center, 2106, really, this is for debt servicing. We still have our loan costs to pay until 2032. The surplus in this service is going to be provided 52% to the village of Pemberton, and the remaining is going to be used to offset debt servicing costs. And every other recreation cost will be in the financial contribution agreement, with the exception of Gates Lake Park.
Okay. Any questions? Would somebody like to move the budget for, is it 2106?
Yes, correct.
2106, moved by Director Mack, seconded by Director Kennett. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Sorry, through the chair, are these budgets going to be coming through the board for recreation? Just for clarification.
So 2106 is gonna be specific to PVIS because it's essentially only encapsulating that debt servicing cost. 2106A will come to the board, which is gonna include that new financial contribution agreement for all the recreation services. I had to refresh myself this morning too, because it can be a little complicated, so.
Thank you for
Yeah.
clarity. I captured the resolution.
Thank you.
We're all getting the hang of it.
So the next resolutions, we're gonna be recommending approval to the board on the next recreation ones, is that correct?
Yes, these would be, you'd be approving and recommending them to the regional board for
Yeah.
adoption, I believe.
Okay, go ahead.
No.
No.
The next ones, no?
This year, so the thing that's tricky this year is it will go straight to the board. By the time we get to next year's process, we'll have the committee of council, of which there'll be representative from the VOP, representative from Area C,
Yeah.
and community to make the recommendation to council and to the board. So
So these ones here, we shouldn't pass until the board has gone through.
Maybe I can clarify.
that's it.
2106 and 2106E will be the two remaining PVIS
Yeah.
SLRD services, and that's for essentially the rec center debt servicing and Gates Lake Park.
Okay.
The other ones that you've seen in the past, which is 2106B, C, those have essentially nothing in them anymore.
Yeah.
And then there will be the new service, which is 2106A, which has the contribution agreement and that funding formula, which will go to the board, and the board would approve that this year.
I'd like to make a motion that we make this more complicated.
So for today, it would be approving and recommending 2106 and 2106E.
Yeah. Make that motion,
Yes.
seconder, Director Kennett, any opposed, motion carries.
And that's just for 2106, because we'll go to 2106E.
We did 2106
Yep, we
already,
got
yeah,
it.
yeah, we did 206, I thought you said to include E on that.
Well, I haven't got to E yet,
All right, you go
so
ahead.
let's not include E. Sorry.
Don't be sorry, you're doing great.
Yeah, there's gonna be a quiz on all of this. Okay, so I'll just go through the list as it is in the agenda. 2106C is the Pemberton Youth Center, and you'll see that so I guess this does need to be approved as well, because there's a surplus carry forward, which is just being allocated out.
Yeah.
Sorry, so 206E, this will be done after 2026. This is just an allocation of the remaining surplus balance. So there's $3,104 and $14.95 is going to the SLRD and $16.19 is going to the Village of Pemberton.
Okay. Any questions? So we need a motion to approve this one. Yes?
Yes, this one would need to be approved.
Okay, motion to approve 2106 E.
C.
Sorry,
C.
Jesus. Director Mack, second by Director Ramsden, any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, great. We're getting there. Now we're on 2106E, which is Gates Lake Park. This is the portion of the recreation service that's staying with the SLRD. We have transferred our share of the youth center surplus to the service. That's what we just discussed. And we are starting to build some reserves for the service in 2026. I would actually not recommend approving this service today, just because this is our first year of operating the service. We're still working out our estimated costs, so we would like to bring a final version back in March that may have some adjustments to the numbers that are here. And if there's any specific questions on that, I have Omar Budd, Director of Environmental Services here.
Any questions? As said, it's gonna come back to us maybe with some revisions. Any questions for now?
So, Gates Lake Park has now come back to the regional district.
Out of the recreation
Yeah.
service.
Yeah.
So,
And remember the Pemberton Rec and Cultural Association were negotiating, lobbying, whatever, to take over the maintenance of the park? Has that still been ongoing?
We're in discussions with them right now, and that's one of the reasons why we're trying to push this next month. but we are working on a report as well.
Okay, and they're still enthusiastic about doing that?
Yeah, we've been in discussions with them. They have a meeting today, actually. And so we're waiting to hear back from that. That'll determine next steps.
Okay, because spring is coming and we need to have a plan in place, obviously, to.
For sure, and we do have quotes from contractors to do that work ourselves if we don't hand it
okay.
over.
Yeah,
And that's what we need to make some adjustments to the budget that's presented right now, but we do have costs for all that if we were to just maintain it ourselves.
okay, thank you.
All right. Onward. 2106F.
So this one actually has no surplus, so it's all zeros for 2026. I don't know, I don't think we need to approve it yet. I'll just double check. with
He was pretty confident.
Yeah, everyone likes zero requisition, zero expenses, so
Okay.
that one's pretty straightforward. Yeah, I guess that's the end of the recreation services, so I don't know if there's any other questions on just that whole process in general where we're discussing it, but
Very good.
okay, great. Moving along, our next budget is cost center 2108, which is the PDIF arts and culture stream. The arts and recreation service stream. So this was obviously incorporating the recommendations from the previous committee meeting where we approved the 3% increase and all of the funding requests that were presented.
So we didn't approve the budget last time?
There was a recommendation to increase the requisition amount, but the actual budget hasn't been approved. So this is now just incorporating those recommendations.
Somebody like to make a motion to approve budget for 2108? Director Kent, second by Director Mack. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Moving along, then we have next 2109, which is the economic development PDIF fund. Similar to the previous service, there were recommendations from the previous committee meeting, but the budgets have not yet been approved.
Somebody like to move approval? Director Mack, second by Director Ramsden. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Moving along, next is cost center 2202, which is the Pemberton District Museum. Obviously, they presented today as a delegation and they have requested an increase of just 2% to their operating contribution for 2026. They received 218,000 in 2025 and they're looking for 222,472 in 2026.
I'll move that.
Seconder. Director Ramsden, discussion. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Wish they were all that you have.
2502.
2502 is the Pemberton Library. They also presented today earlier as a delegation. And as we discussed previously, there's a 7% requisition increase for this service. Their actual request has increased from 428,000 to 522, but 57 or almost 58,000 of that is the rent. Because of the transfer of the recreation service to the Village of Pemberton, we are no longer paying the rent on their behalf. It would just be between the library and the VOP. So really, they've requested that funding from PBIS in their request rather than having it as a budget item on the budget.
So we charge, is this one of these famous in and outs?
It's not like, so what Colin says, the 90-something thousand change, really it's only a 45, I think, $1,000 increase.
Yeah.
In their actual budget, because who collected the rent before and how we paid it has been reversed now. So 50 some, whatever, 50.
Yeah, so their annual total requisition increase for the service is 35,000. The way they paid rent to the village of, they paid rent to the recreation center. But since the recreation center was our service, we showed that as a separate line item and we requisitioned for it. They didn't include it in their budget request. Now that we don't own the rec center, they'll be paying that rent directly to the village of Pemberton, so they've included it as a budget item in their request. It's essentially just, you'll see at the very bottom of the budget, there was an amount in 2025 of 57,920 for rent. That's essentially just moved up into the line where they request their annual operational contribution.
Similar to the when we're talking about the fire and rescue, it's not an addition to the budget. It's not a $50-some thousand addition to the budget. They were already paying that rent. They're just paying it different.
Yeah, I guess I have a problem. Why are they paying rent?
Well, you have to account for, there are different services, they'll have to pay for.
Yeah, just,
If they weren't in, if they were in a standalone building.
that's a different, to me, that's different. That's a privately owned building. That's a different deal. This here is a community owned building.
It's all the same, like, if we didn't
It's
pay.
sort of like in my mind, it's creative bookkeeping.
It's not creative booking, if we didn't pay, if they didn't pay the rent there, then we would have to put that same amount into a requisition for the rec center. It doesn't save anybody any money. Those costs would be incurred by the recreation or by whatever cost center it is.
So what costs are we talking about here? Like heat, light and all that sort of stuff? Their share of that?
Yeah, if I can, it's covering the utilities and it also covers when there's the need for something to be maintained or fixed in the building. We have people from Public Works and come in and take care of any issues in the.
So that to me should be explained. The rent covers, hydro and all that sort of stuff, water, sewer, blah, blah, blah. Utilities, shall we say, whatever. It's just not, we're paying rent to. I don't know, it's just,
It's not like we're charging ourselves or the residents twice for that, it's.
I remember when I was the fire chief and we used to pay rent for the fire hall. Right? And I'd always used to say to Brian Kirk at the time, why the hell are we paying rent for something we already own, right? But anyways.
Stay on this.
So is this going to be this $57,000? Is this every year then, or is this one time?
No,
This is it.
We've already been paying that. We pay it every year. It's just that now the recreation service sits in the village of Pemberton budget. So now the SLRD has to pay a rent to the village. In the past, it was the opposite. That's why everything is zeroed out here. I'll come back. It's not that's what I'm saying. It's like the fire. It's not an additional cost. Their budget increase is $35,000, their request. That 55 is rent that was gonna be paid, whether it was the SLRD or the village of Pemberton running the service this year, that would be getting paid. That hasn't changed.
Correct, yeah, they have a rent agreement with the recreation center and that amount is set via that agreement. This has been paid every year, so moving that amount, the rent doesn't actually impact requisition this year at all. It's just the way it's shown in our budget, and I just wanted to highlight that for anyone who's looking at it, because it can be a little confusing. But
No kidding.
yeah.
Okay,
All right, so with regards to the increased request, the actual increased request. Any questions or thoughts on that? Somebody want to move the budget?
It's 35,000.
It's 35, what did you say that was, 7%?
Yeah, the 7% requisition increase this year.
And they've been pretty tight on their budget over the years too. Their increases have been pretty modest, I think. So I'm happy to support this.
Yeah.
Make a motion, approve the budget?
Yeah.
Seconder? Director Kent, any discussion? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Great, moving along, our next cost center is 2601. This is the Area C and Village Pemberton Cemetery. We did actually receive a budget request from them earlier this month, and they've requested $3,600 for operations for 2026. We did also invite them as a delegation today, but we did not receive a response for that, so but it's good to receive a request as we had not received one in
I'll definitely move this.
Move approval of 2601. Director Mack, seconder, Director Kenneth, opposed, motion carries. 3003.
Yeah, so we're almost there. Last cost center is 3,003, the Pemberton Valley Recreation Trail Service. This is the first time this committee is seeing this budget. It has now been completed by staff and we have included a 5-year plan. And as we mentioned, PBTA's request is included in this budget, so their line item is 55,000 versus the 39,000 they received in 2025. We are at the maximum requisition limit for the service. So we've had to allocate $8,880 to this service, and it's being shown as a transfer from Area C recreation amenity, the Wedgwoods Recreation Service, Recreation Reserve. If there's any questions on any of the items in this budget, I do have Bree.
How much did we transfer from the wedge amenity?
In this budget, it's showing a transfer of 8,880.
Okay,
So their main increase in this service is the request from Pemberton Valley Recreational, right? Am I correct in that?
Yeah, it's a 19% increase this year. We went from 65,000 to 78,000, which is around 13,000, and PBTA's request is the 39 to 55, so they requested 16,000, but we are funding 8,000 of that with Area C amenities. So there are some slight cost of living adjustments in this budget, and then obviously the increased request by PBTA.
And since it takes a while, should we, as part of this discussion, be considering a motion to increase the requisition for years moving forward? Is there space going to be created?
We are working on a project to increase the number. If the board or the committee wanted to make a recommendation on that, we could add it to the work plan. It likely wouldn't be done for 2027, just with how long these can take, but it's something that we could take offline and look at if there is interest.
So, but what you just said in mind, it would make sense then to put it in the queue. I would assume.
Sure, yeah, it isn't necessarily a queue the same way it would be for service establishments. We can do them we can't do them like concurrently, but we can, yeah, if there's interest from the committee, it would help to have direction from them to
Okay.
look at increasing.
Is there a reason not to?
Well, no, just if you don't want to spend that money, then we don't need to do the work, but if we want to look at increasing the requisition, then.
Yeah, so it gives future committees the ability to.
I will
Take
also,
requests,
I can
right?
take it offline and review, because we do have that 25% increase every 5 years, and I can just make sure.
Yeah, so we'll wait.
I have that in front of me, but sometimes it depends on assessment values, and sometimes you don't have an increase 1 year, and then the next year you might actually have an increase through that, so I can do that offline and.
Okay, so we'll hold that motion back.
Okay.
Is other comments on this budget and the increase request? Go ahead.
I'd just like to get what you think about it, Mike.
About the increase?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the same thing, right? Like our trails, they haven't asked for significant increases over the years too. They tend to be pretty tight on their budget, so, what's my take on it, I wish we could have shaved a little bit off all the way, but. I think the request is reasonable. Director Ramsden, go ahead, is that a new hand?
Yeah, there is one line item, and I was wondering, because it wasn't, I don't know if this is related to the PVTA, but I did notice that, believe it is line item, I can follow this across the screen. Right, 50650, operating supplies and other, and it's showing a significant increase, tool signs, and there's mention of an e-bike, so I was just wondering if there's, because it seems to have increased from it's almost a $3,000 increase, so I was just wondering if we have any information about that.
I think that might have, do you know?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Through the chair, I need an e-bike to be able to do all the trail inspections and maintenance, and
Okay.
so shared the cost between the Sea to Sky Trail Service and here, so there's 7,000 in the Sea to Sky Trail Service and 3,000 here to be able to have an e-bike to do the trail inspections. The trails are really long and I can't do it on a pedal bike or walking efficiently, so that's part of it.
Yeah, that I was suspecting it was something like that, but I figured I'd ask before I assumed. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So any suggestions here or approve changes?
Yeah, motion to approve. So how much money did we put in from Wedge? 8?
Yeah, so we've allocated 8,880, so just under 9,000.
And that's just to keep the,
That's because we're at the maximum requisition. So there was just a short funding gap, and that's, as we mentioned, it has to do with PVTA's
Okay.
increased request. And maybe just some important context, kind of what I shared with the Squamish Search and Rescue, like PVTA's core funding has increased over the last few years. In 2022, we provided 20,000. In 2023, it was 25. And then 2024 it was 30. And then last year they requested an increase to 39. And this year they're requesting an increase to that 55,000. So they have been pretty consistently requesting increases. Just something for the board to be aware of.
Thank you. Okay. Do you want to make a motion?
Yeah.
To approve as presented? In a seconder? Any discussion? Call the question, any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks for adding those context bits, Colin, that's really helpful to moving that forward there, because yeah, this is really helpful, thank you.
Yeah, I know it can be a lot to digest in a meeting like this, so
I like the idea though of maybe the PVTA being in the queue to get in the.
Well, let's say, so what Colin suggested is that, so the way the requisition increases works is you have normal ones according to assessment every year. Sometimes it's a bigger jump, sometimes it's not, and then after you hit the ceiling, you have to request an increase to the requisition. We might not need to increase it, let's let them.
So we actually
This is just in.
Omar is doing some research behind me here. We did increase the requisition via that 25% increase back in 2023. So we're, I guess we're halfway through. They'd be eligible for one in 2028 for that service.
So next year there'll be a natural slight increase, right?
Yeah, well, pardon?
25%.
25% would be, yes, so
98,000.
In 2028.
Our maximum requisition ceiling would increase in
In 2028, not
by
before.
25%.
Yeah, in practical terms with the budget, we would likely have some small increases across the board, but you know, some of these trail services are project-based as well, so it's hard to say other than what's in the 5-year plan. That being said, the amount of time it would take to increase the requisition outside of that 5-year,
Yeah.
or the 25% after 5 years might not be saving much time. We likely wouldn't be getting it done for 2027, and then it's available in 2028, so.
So it makes sense to wait to 2028 when we get the 25% jump, and in the meantime, again, the context, the history is I don't know if it's double, but there have been a significant increases in funds already over the last 5 years to this service, so if it has to wait till 2028, we can make that decision. Any last thoughts or requests?
I think I've said enough today.
Definitely.
Thank you very much for everyone's comments.
Thanks, Colin, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Number 9, decision on late business, we have none. Notice a motion to adjourn. Director Kenneth, second by Director Mack, any opposed, motion carried. Thanks, everyone.